Hello everyone. So in this video, we are going to see how do we find websites on the internet. So we are going to take an example. Let's say Rohit wants to use a Facebook. So how does Rohit's computer identify the Facebook server? How this is done? So DNS comes to the help. DNS stands for Domain Name Service, or sometimes referred as Domain Name Server or Domain Name System. So with the help of DNS only, any client is able to reach to a particular server. For instance, Rohit is able to reach to the Facebook server and is able to serve the content into his browser at the client side and is able to use the application. So how does this actually work? So we are going to see. I highly recommend coming onto this particular website, which is howdns.works, which has beautifully illustrated the functioning of DNS in a cartoonist manner. So let us start this and see. Over here, episode 1, the website is unknown. So we do not know how are we going to reach to that particular website. So this is Rohit and he is going to type dnssimple.com into his browser and is going to hit enter. Freeze. Computers and other devices communicate using IP addresses to identify each other on the internet. And we know this. But humans can't remember IP addresses, so they use words. So in case I ask you guys, can you tell me 10 shopping websites name? You will quickly tell me Amazon, Flipkart, Jabong, Myntra, and so on. But if I ask you 10 websites IP address which contains a shopping, or I can buy some electronics from there, you won't be able to tell me the IP address. Why? Because we cannot remember numbers, but we can easily remember names. So for our help, there is DNS. DNS brings together both of them, that is the name and the number, which is the domain name and the IP address, and gets us to our destination. So this is how DNS works. It was very simple, but let us understand something in more depth. So whenever you type any particular address into your browser, for example, Rohit wants to use Facebook and he will type facebook.com into his browser. The first thing that will happen is the first request that is being checked is into the browser's cache. So once the browser's cache is checked, and if the website is not opened earlier into the browser ever or saved into the cache, then the request goes to the OS. And OS also has its own cache. Once it is not able to find into the browser or the OS cache, then the request will now go to a round trip, as the request will move or will leave the computer, and now it is going to start its round trip. All right, let's go to the next episode and see. So the request moves out of Rohit's computer and Rohit's house and goes out. Now the request reaches to the resolver's inbox. Who is the resolver? Resolver is none other than your ISP, which is your internet service provider, which gives you internet service. So once your request reaches to the ISP says, you want to open facebook.com? Sure, Rohit, you can open it. So the ISP is going to check its own cache first again. And if he is not able to identify the website, then we are going to ask the root. So a road trip is going to get continued because even the resolver, which is our ISP, does not know where is facebook.com. So the resolver server is usually your ISP, and we know that now. Now our request is going to the root server. The root server knows where to locate the .com TLD. So .com is basically what is added behind a website. For example, google.com, facebook.com, and there are more such top level domains like edu, .gov, .in, etc. Now, next, when the request reaches to the root server, then the root server asks, what do you want? And we are going to say, hey root server, we want to open facebook.com. Do you know where can I find it? So the root says, sorry resolver, I do not know where to find facebook.com, but I can tell you where to find the .com top level domain server. So now our request is going to the .com TLD server. So root has different DNS hierarchies of TLDs. For example, as you can see, I'll just zoom it a little bit. .com, .org, .net, and there are many such like that. So root checks for whatever the request has came of the client. For example, as Rohit wants to see facebook.com, so the root is only going to check the TLD, that is the top level domain in the .com hierarchy, and here the root will be able to find it. Why? Because all the domain names which are registered has all its database saved to the root server. So anytime you buy any domain from GoDaddy, Namecheap, or anywhere in this world, always a small fee has been taken from you, which we generally call it as an ICANN fee. So your particular domain name or your particular website's name are added into the root server's hierarchy. This is compulsory and that has to happen. So basically the root knows if any website is being made or deployed with any particular domain name. And finally, we are able to see the particular website. How? Once root is able to identify, okay, facebook.com lies under the .com TLD and it is pointing to IP address. Let's say it points to the IP address 10.10.10.10. Then root is going to say, okay, Rohit, this I have identified. Facebook.com is pointing to this IP address. Now you can fetch Facebook. So now Rohit is going to come back, which is taking the request or the response back to his computer. Once he is coming back, he will keep on saving the particular response that he have got from the root server in all the caches. For example, the resolver is going to save it into its cache first, then the browser will save it as well as the OS will save it into its cache. Why? So that the whole process or the whole round trip does not happen again. So I hope you guys understood how actually DNS works, and whenever you type anything into your browser, how the request goes from your browser's cache to your OS cache, then to your resolver, then to the root, and then to the TLD server. Thank you.